I at some point it just hit me. It was like, okay, rather than just spread those out over lots of different issues, let's have an issue about cemeteries. And it's not the goal wasn't to be morbid about it,
Right.
but just show how cemeteries have so many stories to tell.
Oh
And
yeah, I did a spell of fascination with, the older headstones and stuff, and I would stop and take pictures. I've got a couple that well, he was in Pennsylvania for a course when he first started working for AAP, and while he was in the course, I was out driving around and I was hunting up some older cemeteries, and I've got a couple shots of headstones from like um, Revolutionary soldiers, and because it was right around Veterans Day because they had placed flags on a lot
mhm,
of them, so it was easy for me to eyeball from a distance. Oh, there's one over there, so I could go over there and take a picture of it. One I used a lot on social media at different times. This was years ago in early social media for Veterans Day weekends and stuff like that. I'd put up,
that's great.
but yeah, I did that for a while. I'm all over the place. I'm like this adult ADHD. I'll hyper focus on. Oh, I've got a decent camera. Not like a big pro camera, but I got a decent digital camera, and I'm taking pictures of everything. Well, I'm bored with that. I'm gonna go over here and do this for a while. Well, I'm bored with that. I'm gonna go over here and do this for a while. So I'm all over the place. But yeah, I did. I went through a spell taking pictures. Going to some of the cemeteries and taking pictures of older headstones and stuff because they don't do that much now. Well, I shouldn't speak that generally, but a lot of the ones now are the flat markers, so they can cut the grass and be more efficient.
And,
And those
and
those old headstones are art pieces of artwork.
some of them are just absolutely remarkable. And that was one of the stories in that Golden Seal was about, and nobody knows who he was, but and like they assume it's a him, but you
Mm-hmm.
never know. That there was somebody who was doing a lot of work in southern West Virginia, particularly like Monroe County, Greenboro counties, that area, who was truly, you know, this was he could do stonework and he could
Mm-hmm.
do very artistic things, and it just happened to be his canvas,
Mm-hmm.
was tombstones.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody had to make them. You know.
And it was, a lot of times you can just tell about the tombstones a lot about people. It's like, an ornate tombstone, it can tell you, it's like, well, they probably had some money or they were influential in the
Mm-hmm.
community. And somebody that just had a rock or something, um, you know, who knows? And that was the people, people were enslaved, you know,
Yeah,
for most times they weren't even marked at all.
yeah.
And so it you can kind of like read stories into the cemetery itself,
Mm-hmm.
by saying, okay, this is, we got Charleston's a good example. We've got Spring Hill Cemetery. We've got
Mm-hmm.
former governors buried there and senators. You know, like a history book of West Virginia is buried in that cemetery in Charleston. But there's also a black section where, um, that was segregated out, based on the times. There's a pauper's field there where people who were indigent who didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any money, died, and the city kept a plot for them. Almost all those graves, as far as I know, are unmarked. They know where the field is, they know where the hillside is, but they have no idea who's buried there. They're
Yeah.
nameless, unmarked, and they're within shouting distance of governors.
Yeah, they're my grandparents, my kids, and some of my mom's siblings are out Graceland, and there's a section there for babies from way back, and they've just got what are left of the little metal markers down there, so you don't, there's going to come a point in time where those metal markers aren't going to be there too, and you don't know who's there.
And they're all,
Um,
even like the more substantial markers, the stone markers from,
yeah,
even 100 years ago, uh,
yeah,
just because of the chemical makeup of the environment, and everything
granites
else.
stuff,
Some of them have eroded very badly just in the last
yeah,
30 or 40 years.
yeah,
They may have made it 200 years, but the last 30 to 50 years have taken a toll.
yeah. There's one out there in the older section, or I guess it would be the original section towards the back that at one point had a pylon or something on it, and that's been gone for a long time. You can tell where it's come off, and it's not there anymore. It's been gone for so long. I don't know if anybody would have known. Did it just crack? Did lightning strike it? Did somebody vandalize? I mean, it's just been gone for a long time. Was there a fracture in the granite? That just gave way. But yeah, it's they don't, and that's one of the ones that now my dad's family, the ones that are from down around Garrett's Bend, they're in St. Albans, and that's all flat. Those are just markers
Mm-hmm.
instead of headstones, and I think it's awful, but that's the type of cemetery it is. I prefer the headstones. But I get it, the efficiency. I get it, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. So,
It's and I'm not either, but it is efficient, and one of the things, if you look at cemetery preservation, because
hmm
there's books, there's websites on it,
hmm
and one of the worst possible, the thing that's damaging more tombstones than anything else are weed eaters.
yeah,
And they and people think that they're maintaining it, and very nicely.
and the riding lawnmowers.
Yeah.
When my son Brian, when he was buried out there at Graceland, um, we when they the day he was buried, actually, even we noticed that one of Mom's sister's headstones was just a little askew because where it had been bumped. I mean, you don't just walk up and shove them. It's not like a bed. These
Mhm.
things are monsters. And Wayne asked happened to know one of the guys that was on the groundskeeping there, and he said, "Can you fix that?" And they had it fixed by the next week. But then Mom's grave out in St. Albans is had her vase, her brass vase. They turn
Mhm.
upside down out of the season. Well, hers had been damaged because they'd hit it with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
So they just, and I get it's not highly skilled labor and it's drudgery and all that stuff, but they're not almost not any more taken care of than the ones up on the hill that nobody looks at for 100 years.
And so I had that conversation with somebody, is that unfortunately sometimes those mountain cemeteries, or maybe fortunately, those mountain cemeteries that are not perpetual care,
Mm-hmm.
that get grown up to where you can't even see the stones. In some cases, those stones are going to be a lot better preserved than
Yeah,
perpetual care, where
yeah, because the weather doesn't get to
growing
them and the sun
constantly.
doesn't get to them as much.
That's
Yeah.
it.